What up, guys? This is your boy like one half Enduro, and I'm going to do another video here. I want to thank y'all for watching the last video last week. I love the comments. Hopefully you guys will comment on more videos, but thank y'all for the comment and looking at stuff. And as of now, we're gonna look into this video. Why the Steam Deck still beats the Switch 2. Now I want to put this preference up front so people could see what I'm saying and why I look at these videos. Because remember I told you before, I look at videos to see new aspects, new things. Arlo, a lot of people disagree with Arlo in the comments. I saw that. But I say I agree with him half of the time, and I understand where he's coming from. So again, tit for tat, I kind of went with it. I hope the best for the Nintendo Next for this year. I really do. But again, just be that. So with this video, all right, to the creator, Nick Flip, I got nothing against you. I just saw your video and think it's a good video to go over and see what you're saying. I will hold you to the fire if it's falsehood. If you prefer a Steam Deck over a Switch, no problem. I have no problem with that. Buy a deck over a Switch 2. That has never been my argument. For a billion times, I've never told anybody to buy a Switch 2. You don't have to buy a Switch 2. If you do not like Nintendo games and you think you got better stuff with the Switch, with the Steam Deck, go right ahead. Don't buy a Switch 2. Don't buy a PlayStation. I said, it's your money. You work hard for it. Like I always say, you do what you gotta do. Okay? Turn this off because I'm editing a video for my church, and I know by the time this video is done, it's gonna pop up in the noise. Let me turn off the speakers. But yes, go ahead. The thing that I'm doing this video is to see if Nick Flip is telling the truth. Because again, I might need to cut that video short and just put back up again. I'm not gonna argue a person's preference. It's a preference thing. If you prefer the Steam Deck over a Switch 2, good for you. You preference a PlayStation over Steam Deck, good for you. You preference a Looney Box over the Switch 2, good for you. Don't care. Don't care, and this again is your money. But if you're gonna start just to lie, just to make your point, then I'll make a video about it and go against it. So again, I preface this up front. I want to hear his reasoning, and it might be justifiable reasoning, okay? But I'm telling you right now, if you don't like Nintendo games, then I understand. But if you want Nintendo games, yeah, the Switch 2 is where it's supposed to go. If you want more physical games, I can't say all because we know what's going on, hopefully, but you have more physical games that you own outright, the Switch 2 is the best way to go. I'm just saying. You want to own your games? Yeah. So, let's see what he says. All right?
I bought both on day one. It's been 6 months at this point, and honestly, I've got a few issues with the Switch 2, and there's a lot of reasons why I prefer the Steam Deck over the Switch 2, but I am going to give this a fair shot. Listen, the Switch...
Are you really? Let's see. Let's see. You have a lot of issues with the Switch 2. Okay. Got you. But let's see again. Let's compare apples to oranges here, are we? Or are we going to be apples to apples? Let's see.
Switch 2 does have some benefits over the Steam Deck. However, there's one very important reason that I think this thing ain't as great as this thing. Okay. And I'll get into it in this video, stay tuned. Now look, I think it's only fair we start with the Switch 2. Who the Switch 2 is for, it's pretty simple. Casual players, diehard Nintendo fans who love exclusives, and people that just don't want to tinker as much. The build quality of the Switch 2 is really solid, and I think they nailed everything that Switch 1 owners were looking for in a Switch 2. Just a more premium feel, the magnetic controllers, the upgraded performance internally, how thin overall the console is, and just how easy it is to use, especially when it comes to co-op play. Just being able to take the Joy-Cons off the system and hand it to a family member is great, and you can't really do that with a Steam Deck, so that's where the Switch 2 wins. And for the entry price, now it's lower than the Steam Deck entry price because we lost the LCD model, so there's that too. However, there's one caveat to that I'll get into a little later of why the entry price doesn't matter that much even if it is lower. And speaking of price, this is where we start to get into the disadvantages.
Okay.
I'll start right off the bat. Switch 2.
Check out these thermal winter gloves.
Really, but I'm not surprised that they will have all these commercials. But again, it is what it is.
Right off the bat, Switch 2 game prices are kind of insane. They are pretty much on par when it comes to third-party titles, but Nintendo, for some reason, seems to think that they have a leg up over everybody else in terms of their exclusive pricing. I mean, if you...
In a way they do, because it's their games and their quality compared to others. But again, if you don't like Nintendo games, it's all good, understandable.
Look at the price of Mario Kart World alone. I think it's just a ridiculous...
Why do a lot of these people live in other this? Where is it where that would be 199? Is it Canada? It must be Canada. There's a lot of Canada people. I gotta be. Let me check this up. I'm on computer here. Excuse me. See. Oh yeah, they switch over for that, so they need to see Mario Kart. Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World. Yep. I'm gonna pause that for a second. Like I said, I'm editing a video right now, so let me go. Mario Kart World pricing Canada. Okay, so yeah, I noticed that like a lot of people are doing videos from Canada. So here's that. So it's $109 in Canadian. I wish you could tell us that they. I wish you guys could say, "Hey, I'm from Canada with these prices," so people understand. So you just don't put it out there, because a lot of people are not smart enough to think, "Oh, well, these are American prices or whatever." No, so $109 in Canadian money. Okay, I see it.
Price for the value of that game itself. I've played that game now for maybe, I don't know, 20 to 30 hours, and it's a good game and all, but I don't know if it's over 100 Canadian dollars good. And aside from that, the sales...
Okay, again, I stepped before my house. He said Canadian dollars, so respect him for that. Okay, good.
Kind of lack compared to Steam. We just had that little stunt where Cyberpunk 2077 went on a major sale on the Switch eShop, but it ended up being a glitch, and the price wasn't supposed to be that low. You could still get the Ultimate Edition cheaper on Steam, and that just kind of goes to show you can't really compare prices. It's just higher on the Switch 2 currently. And on that note, compared to Steam, like I said...
Yeah, but you own it outright. But again, let's see if he says that.
Just pricing is better. Steam sales, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. Not even just on Steam itself. You can go on sites like Humble Bundle and a bunch of other third-party sites. I'd be wary about CD keys and stuff like that and buying other Steam accounts. That's gray area territory that I don't really want to get into. However, the possibility to get games on PC and Steam in general are a lot more accessible and a lot more cheaper overall than it is.
Correct. And you don't own the games, but again, that's the trade-off. As Thomas Sowell says, there's basically a trade-off for every decision. They compromise. You're gonna compromise. So if you want to own your games, okay. If you don't want to own your games, okay. And again, for anybody who come, I already done debunked the whole thing about this whole Steam owning all that stuff already. I done did a video about that, so miss me with that if you put it in the comments. All right, I don't know. There's only a few games that you get on Steam that you own outright, you could download whatever. Not all of them. And, okay, so stop it. Stop. But other than that, yeah, if you want a lower price, then I can't argue with that. You get a lower price. True to form.
On the Switch 2. Not only that, but emulation. Now, if you're on a Nintendo Switch...
There you go. Again, you don't own the games, but you're going to emulate it until you get hacked or whatever stuff. But of course, I'm not even going to argue that point with emulation. Again, good for y'all. Who y'all want to emulate, go ahead. I'm not going to argue it. I've beaten that horse to death already. If you want to emulate, go right ahead and emulate. My thing is, when you emulate games that just came out, like how they did with Metroid Prime 4, like they did with Dread, like they did with Zelda, yeah. Oh, we emulated. We got no. You stole it. You stole it. And I'm not, again, done did videos about that.
Switch 2 or a Nintendo Switch for that matter. If you want to play older titles from like the NES or SNES era or even the GameCube on the Switch 2, you can't just pull up old purchases on the GameCube or load older cartridges into the Switch. It just doesn't
Neither the PlayStation or Xbox, but I digress.
Work. You're going to need to pay for Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
It's a monthly or yearly recurring fee, and that's just kind of how that goes. Older
Yeah.
catalogs aren't going to get preserved as much on the Switch, so you got to keep that in mind as well, and that kind of factors into why the entry price is so low, because you're going to be forking a hefty penny to play older catalog games. Steam, I'm
Really? Again, I'll pay $20 a year, and I go play games. Okay, let's do this comparison right here. I'm just saying. So Steam, I'm emulated Mario World. Just an older game. Let's go. Super Mario Brothers World, right? That's what I'm emulating. I'm emulating that. So I pay $20 a year, and I can play Super Mario World for a year. Just that, $20 for that game. And with that, it just works. On the Steam Deck, I have to emulate. I make sure the emulator works and make sure that I can get it run perfectly. So I gotta twitch. I gotta fix stuff because every emulator don't work exactly the same. So if you got a PlayStation emulator, it's different from the Sega emulator, or whatever company. And also there's different types of Nintendo emulators out there that you gotta do this. So let me see, $20 a year. I got Super Mario World working. I got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 working. I got all these games that if you want to emulate older pedal, $20 a year. And I gotta worry about all kind of crazy stuff. Tit for tat, I think is about even to me. I ain't gonna say Nintendo's better. I'm not gonna say the Steam's better. I think it's even. You make a choice on that. I'd rather just go online, pay my $20, as I said, pay my $20, go online and boop, boop, boop. Well, you know, holy crap. I can play Super Mario World and Kirby's Dream Land and all that stuff. I gotta tweak nothing, I gotta fix nothing. It runs and plays, plug and play. Again, to each their own.
I'll just say it doesn't exist. Listen, I have games on Steam that I've owned since I've made my account 15 plus years ago. Call of Duty World at War, I could still play it today, no problem. I can load it up on the Steam Deck or my PC. It's compatible with any system I've ran it on, and you're just...
Good for you. You ain't all. Not every game is that, because we already know there's a ton of games that have been delisted. So, no. And again, you play Nintendo NOS to play Nintendo games, which are not on whatever you just said right there. You have to emulate it through Steam with another proprietary system.
Not going to get that kind of compatibility with the Switch. So with that being said, you're paying more per game, you're paying for subscriptions, and you don't really own these games long term like you would on Steam.
No, you do not. No, we got a problem because you don't.
If you value
from Dallas,
no, you do not.
Money and want your best bang for buck long term. Currently right now the Steam Deck and Steam vice versa are just the way to go with that. Because of the way the Switch operates like any other regular casual gaming console where you have to wait for ports of newer and even older games to come out, that doesn't exist with the Steam Deck. As long as your system is powerful enough to run it, you'll be able to run it. So you can play a game that just came out, as long as it's released on PC at the same time as consoles, it'll work just fine on the Steam Deck as long as it's optimized well enough to run on the Steam Deck. The Switch 2, this doesn't exist. With the Switch, you're locked into when publishers decide to port games to your ecosystem. And I know in the long term that there will be a lot of support for the Switch 2, just like the Switch. And the Switch 2 has sold millions of consoles already, but you lose the freedom of being able to open any game you want that just came out if you purchase it day one. Also touching on performance.
What? Wait, what? Okay, if the game come out on a Switch, I could play it on a Switch. Unless you're talking about like, oh, it came out and then a third party game. If you want a third party game, that's a whole different story. I bought a Nintendo console to play Nintendo games. Sorry, I'm the different. Now look again. I have third party games on my Switch. I have a lot of indie games on my Switch. I have more indies than third parties on my Switch. Telling you that right now. Nintendo is, if I have to be honest, and I look at my backlog, is more indies than Nintendo than third party. And third party is basically like 10% of my Switch library. You guys saw the last video I did. You saw my library of games I have. I have Nintendo games. Is a criminal copy of Nintendo games for me. But again, I have a lot of indie games in there too, and some third party games in there. All right, and what I would consider is be like I said, some third parties, it be like a Capcom game, and which is on there. Ubisoft has what, 2 Ubisoft games I have for my original Switch. I do have a good amount of Capcom games. Shout out to them. And like I said, the rest, any third party, Sega, maybe some Sega games, Atlas and stuff like that. But again, mostly it's indie games, and then of course all the Nintendo games you saw. Yeah. If you saw my video, you saw the whole left shelf of my thing is Nintendo games. So, whoopee.
Switch 2, while being a more powerful handheld, it's not anything you're not going to get with a Steam Deck, and it kind of depends on the form factor here. So the Switch 2, the games are optimized for the 1080p screen, and they're mostly hovering around the 30 FPS to maybe 60 FPS level.
Yeah.
Now, the Steam Deck isn't a 1080p device. However, with the OLED screen at 800p, it's a very good-looking screen for what it is, and any game running natively at that resolution or even 720p plays almost identical to how the Switch plays games. Now, you can make the argument that technically the Switch 2 has more performance, and yes, docked at 4K and 1080p, you're gonna get more performance out of the Switch 2. But in handheld mode, I don't think you can make that comparison too much, because they're both different consoles at completely different performance standpoints here.
True.
And what I mean by that is basically if you play Yakuza 0, the director's cut on the Steam Deck, and then you compare it to the Switch 2, in handheld form, in front of your actual face, and not via a YouTube video with side-by-side zoom-in comparisons, you're not going to notice much of a difference. In fact, the OLED screen on the Steam Deck might even look a little better, which we're missing on the Switch 2, and kind of disappointing it didn't come out with the base Switch 2. I'd figure for the premium price point that they're targeting this time around that it would, but it didn't. Now, the Switch also is missing out on HDR. Now, it has HDR, but if you've actually used it in practice on the handheld screen, it is hard to notice, and that's because of that display. You're not missing out on much quality differences between the two if you were to play Cyberpunk on the Steam Deck or the Switch 2. It is going to look marginally better docked on the Switch 2 than it would the Steam Deck, but if you're playing handheld most of the time and that's your deciding factor between the two, I wouldn't really base it off of that. Now, when it comes to hardware, since we've kind of covered all that, let's talk about the software. The Switch 2 took a very similar approach to the Switch 1. We have a UI that looks almost identical. It's easy to use. You could get right to your games, and I appreciate that. It would be nice to have themes that aren't just black and white, but whatever, hopefully one day, Nintendo. The Steam Deck UI with SteamOS is also fantastically streamlined, and in my opinion, gives you a lot more control with what you can do. Being able to change the power settings, being able to sideload Decky, which is a mod that runs in the background that kind of lets you install third-party plugins into SteamOS. You can change the theme to different community themes and stuff like that. It's kind of like the iPhone to Android comparison. It's a casual, streamlined, very it just works experience on the Switch 2, but with the Steam Deck, it is also that kind of just works experience, but if you want to tinker, you can. If you're on the fence about buying a Steam Deck because you're not sure about Linux and everything, honestly, just forget everything you've heard about Linux. Linux gaming nowadays, unless you're playing some anti-cheat games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, and stuff like that, it works great. A lot of titles on Steam now just play perfectly on the Steam Deck, and I think long-term, it's only going to get even better. Yeah, there's the odd issue here and there, and some games are unsupported, but with a simple YouTube tutorial and like literally a few button toggles, you can run some unsupported games just perfectly on the Steam Deck. And even if you don't want to do any tinkering whatsoever, if you just go off of the playable and verified catalog, we're over 20,000 verified games on Steam right now, which is an impressive library of games. You'll get your AAA games games you know and love, like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, all that stuff's on Steam, and it's on the Steam Deck, and it's verified, and it works great. And it's as simple as clicking install and clicking play. And I think Steam has come such a long way with that. I think between the two OSs, I honestly think I prefer Steam OS, and it's just why I prefer the Steam Deck overall so far. Now, I want to talk about the future of both ecosystems. Starting with the Switch, I wouldn't be putting my entire bank account into that library. If you looked at Nintendo's past consoles, all the way back to the Wii and the Wii U and the 3DS, those storefronts have shut down. There's no real way to go back and get your old catalogs of games unless you own the original hardware. You'd have
Imagine that if you just own original hardware. God forbid you do that and you own your stuff. Now again, I do, so it doesn't bother me. People sell their consoles to get the newest thing, so I get what he's gonna say, and he's gonna use the whole thing when I have it now, I can play this, whatever. Yeah, okay. You ain't play again. There's certain games that you still ain't gonna play that's gonna run perfectly on the Steam Deck.
To purchase Nintendo Switch Online to be able to play those games again. Nintendo also has a history of just shutting down anyone trying to preserve their work in any way, shape.
Because it's not their job to do that. That's stealing. Preserve their work. Okay. Again, I'll ask you a question. If somebody if you're a YouTuber, you make all the video, and I preserve your work and makes money off of it, wouldn't you not come out copyright off for me? Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Stop it. Get some help. I stop that crap. That's annoying as well too. No. Stop that. Why don't you? Here's a revolutionary idea. Since most of y'all don't own most of y'all gamers now who make all these hate YouTubers, he's not one of them. I'm somebody that hate Nintendo YouTubers and all that stuff. Why don't you buy your physical games? Oh, you don't? Why? Because y'all only buy digital? Oh, and then when it delisted in game, you gone, what you gonna do? Nothing. And you're gonna go and try to emulate it and hope that it works. In most cases, 50% chance it runs good. And then that and I give to Steam OS because Steam OS is more streamlined, unlike with the like Rogue and Xbox. Oh, hell. Well, Windows can F up your stuff in the background. I.e., I know that just regular dirty stuff, and I don't even have I don't even play games on Windows, but understand that.
Perform. I understand the whole
triple treat box. The only
understand the whole piracy point, but emulation is not illegal. They're really treating it like it is.
It's not illegal, but oh my goodness again. It's not illegal, but the problem is though the people take the emulation and do illegal things with it. That's the problem. So the best is just nip it in the bud. It is not illegal. And I've said it before on this channel, so I'll say it so people understand. If you want to emulate the games for yourself, all right, if it was me, and I'm not me. Now, I'm me. If I wanted to do this, I ain't doing this, but if I want to do this, if I wanted to just get a Steam Deck and emulate games, whatever, I would at least buy the physical. So at least I said I contributed to people who work on the game and I emulate it. If you want to emulate a game for yourself, that doesn't bother me. The problem is, though, a lot of the reason why Nintendo went against it, and Square, and PlayStation, and Sega, but nobody want to bring up those companies with it, is because people make a storefront and start selling the emulations, which hurts the game, and they don't get the money. Again, they already emulated Metroid Prime 4 before just as it came out. The same thing they did with Dread. I did videos about that. I showed evidence of that. So it ain't like I didn't. I showed straight up evidence happening. They emulated Zelda. What was the one? The Zelda. Dang it! What's the name of it? Wisdom. The one was Zelda is the main character herself. That was emulated before the game came out. Tears of the Kingdom was emulated before the game came out. So it's hurting sales. That's the problem. Emulation itself, you're right, but it's what people do with the tools. That's the bad part. And I remember when a person told me this analogy was stupid. I wish that person could reply, because I replied to them and they never replied back because I think, I don't know, maybe they think that I was too stupid. A car is a legal device. You drive it, you own it. But when you start ramming people and causing death, it becomes illegal. If you go to the right hoops and jumps with a gun in certain states, let's not forget California, New York, and all them crazy, stupid ass states. In certain states, the state I am in, North Carolina, I got guns in my house. I went to class. I legally own it. I have a permit. I could defend myself with that gun, because that's the Second Amendment. But I can't just go out there and start shooting willy-nilly now, because what if I do that? I'm going to go to jail. So that's the problem. Some people use emulation for good. A lot of people use it for bad.
Because where they want you specifically is in their subscription platform that they can hike the price anytime they want. It's not good to be in a walled garden like that.
You kind of Steam is another person doing it, so you're kind of in a walled garden with Steam as well too, but yeah, because of discounts. But I digress. And again, $20. Ooh, oh wow, that's so expensive, my bro. I feel the pain. I feel the pain.
It's a blessing that they even allowed Switch backwards compatibility on the Switch 2. If this next console is some crazy gimmick that doesn't really translate to how the Switch played games, it's going to be a gamble on whether or not you're going to be able to access your old library. So you better hope you keep this thing in good condition, because if you want to be able to play your old games in the next 10 years, there's no real guarantee. With the Steam Deck,
there's a guarantee. I got my Dreamcast. I bought back in 2000. 26 years later, it's still working with my Dreamcast games. Same thing with my Game Boy. Same thing with my Game Boy Advance. Same thing with my Wii U, DS-like games. Yeah, take care of your shit. If a house get burned down, some got the damage, or something could have happened to me, my original NES is gone, because my mom's house, where my original NES was in, when most of my good games too, got destroyed by a hurricane. That happened. I get it. It sucks. It really does, and I get that point. But call me an old doddering fool. Call me an old doddering fool. That's what I am. I'm a geezer. I just like owning my shit. That's just the simple fact of it.
I'm not worried at all. I think it goes without saying that Steam has been around for a long time, and there are some old accounts on this platform with thousands of games. And Steam is very open about game sharing as well.
Yeah, and also if you cross the line political with some people, or you do certain things, Steam can delist your games instantly. Nintendo ain't gotta do shit, know what political or affiliation or what I do, whatever, and they don't gotta ban me. Now they ban me if I jailbreak the Switch. That's a whole different story, which they should get banned. But again, I've showed video too. Again, I showed my evidence. I showed my receipts where certain things were somewhere, and this guy lost thousands and thousands of games he couldn't access because of bullshit. So yeah, I don't take that chance, my friend. Unless the only way Nintendo can stop me from playing a Nintendo game is coming to my house and robbing me. Even with that, they might see my friend Mr. Gunn and blowy. Again, we have Castle Doctrine where I'm at too. So yeah, ain't playing that.
The Switch lets you share games from multiple devices on the same Nintendo account, but they can't be playing at the same time, and you have to keep switching to which console you're currently using.
Not really. It depends on the share. It has the same thing as you just said. It has a shared thing. I could play Mario Kart on 8 different Switches, which I've done 8. I've done 4, but I've played on 4 different Switches with the same cart. So it works. Just saying.
Kind of like Netflix, where you can have one device on one account at a time. But if I'm wrong, let me know down below. With Steam, there's no forced DRM. You can play games offline if you want. Some do have de novo, but Steam lets you know they have de novo. And the lower cost and more longevity you get with Steam is why I always recommend it to people, and why I always think the Steam Deck is just better than the Switch ecosystem currently. So overall, what do we know? The Switch 2, it's a very casual, convenient console, perfect for families, co-op. If you're a diehard Nintendo fan and you like their back catalog, their older catalog of games via the Switch Online, or you like their new exclusives that are coming out, which the only way to play those exclusives is on the Switch, then it's a no-brainer that the Switch 2 is perfect for you. However, if you're anyone else that's looking for a new gaming ecosystem that is going to have their back in the long run for a much lower long-term price, PC gaming, Steam, and all that stuff is just the way to go. No question about it. And that's
not for me, that's for everybody else. If you want to go in and do that, go right ahead. I'm not in. That's what it is. You're right, sir. Go right ahead. If you want those kind of games and stuff like that, go ahead. I'm alright. I mostly buy majority of my games physical unless it's indie. If the indie doesn't go out, so I'm good.
This is the one reason that the Steam Deck ultimately wins, in my opinion.
In
Do
your
you
opinion?
own a Switch 2?
Yes.
Do you own a Steam Deck? I want to hear your opinions down below. If you love the Steam Deck, you're going to like my channel because I got a bunch of other guides, tips, and videos where I talk it to a...
There you go. There you go. That's all it is. Me? No. That's just what it is. I choose a Switch. It's a preference thing, like I said. So it is what it is. I'll let it go as that. Again, I can play my game whatever I want. I have, 3 Switches. And then, well, of course, I'll get it. Like I said, it'll be another Switch where they do the OLED thing. But I have 3 Switches. They all work perfectly. The OG Switch, Switch Lite, Switch OLED. And now I got a Switch 2. And I'm playing it. And it's working. So that's just it is for me. Alright. Like I said, guys, I ain't really got nothing too much. Just the usual stuff of, owning your games and everything. That's me. And if you want an ecosystem, again, if you want to go get Steam, go right ahead. Go out there and enjoy them games. I'm not going to knock down a competitor. Because again, Switch is doing, Steam is doing stuff with PC gaming. And y'all like. That's all good. I don't see the value in it for me, and you might not see the value in the Switch too. That's totally understandable, and that is what we call preference. And I will never argue your preference. So enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoy your games. Again, Happy New Year and all, and we'll catch y'all later. Cause it's funny enough right now, cause I'm gonna upload a video that's gonna come this later this Friday. Please join in the conversation where people are saying, is the console wars done? And I don't know, and I don't care if the console wars done. I really don't. But we got to talk about the topic, though, because it's needed. With that said, remember, there's no perfect games out there. What's perfect to you is not perfect to me. What's perfect to me is not perfect to you. Simply enjoy games on all consoles, including PC.